Everyone, and welcome to today's CaFÉ webinar. If you don't already know me, my name is Justine Chappell. I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager for CaFÉ. In today's webinar, I'm going to be showing you the essential steps for concluding your call for entry in CaFÉ. I'll be giving you a breakdown of everything you need to do after you've concluded your jury process to wrap up everything and access the info you may need. If you've been with CaFÉ for a while, this will all look very familiar, but I hope you learned something new. And if you're new to CaFÉ, this will definitely help you feel more confident about knowing what needs to be done to get things finalized in CaFÉ before you move on to your next stages of the exhibition, project, proposal process, whatever it is you use CaFÉ for. The main key items that we'll cover today include notifying artists of the jury results, finalizing the jury settings, requesting image downloads, downloading reports, and archiving your call once concluded. Let's start with notifying artists of the jury results. Like I said, we'll go through everything that takes place after you finished your jury process. And this part overlaps a little bit with the final steps I showed anyone that might have been in my webinar last month. But I do have some new things to show you about this step today. So let me go into our demo call we'll use today. I'll use this one. So for the purposes of this demonstration, you can see here that our entries are split between the invited status and the not invited status. So this is after the jury process. The jurors have given their scores, and I've gone in and separated and changed the status into either invited or not invited. So here, just make sure before you go on to notify folks of the jury results that you make sure no one is left in the receive status or other status or any of the other statuses unless there's a specific reason for that. Because this step, you'll be notifying everyone and you'll be sending one email to the batch of invited and one email to the batch of not invited artists. So you'll want to make sure they're all in either of those respective categories. So the first thing you should do is go to, after you have everyone sorted, you'll go to the events communication page. You'll make sure the correct call is selected. This will show you that kind of same table of the statuses and how many entries are in each status. And you'll want to select the status that you're going to send your first email to. So like I said, you're going to be sending one email to the batch of invited and one email to the batch of not invited. So you can choose whichever one you want to do first. Let's say for this example, which it is an artwork exhibition in which we had artists submit multiple pieces of artwork for consideration. And maybe we have some folks in here that are in both the invited and not invited statuses because some work was accepted while others weren't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the good news and I'm going to send my invited emails out first. So you'll go ahead and click invited and then click draft email. This will pull up the email form and you'll just want to fill out this with everything. I don't need to be copied on everything, but you can fill out your name, fill out the reply to email address when anyone emails, or if anyone replies to the email you're sending out, it will go to this address, not back to CaFÉ, since CaFÉ only sends emails out one way. You can CC or BCC anyone, and if you yourself would like a copy of the first email sent, you can check mark this box, and that will send you a copy. It's the same thing as if you were to CC yourself on it. Then you can go ahead and add your subject and body. So this here, what you'll want to do is you'll put in a kind of a generic message about, congratulations, you've been invited to the event, but you don't need to address anyone personally because information will be auto-populated into the email that goes out to the individual artist. I'll show you what that looks like later. So you can just put in a generic message. Now, the new thing I wanted to show you today was we created some email templates to help you in this process. Maybe if you're a little bit new to the call for entry process, or if you aren't really sure what to put in your emails, we've created some email templates that are found in the Help Center. So you can go to Help Center tab. That will open up our Admin Help Center where you can find information about any part of the call process. And this is what we're talking about today, wrapping up your call. So if you click into that guide, and either at the top, click email templates or scroll down, you'll get to the email template section where we've added some templates to help. So we've added 2 sets of templates, one for calls that do more exhibition style calls that collect and score entries by individual artwork, and one for calls that are more portfolio based, whether that be requests for qualifications, residencies, or workshops, ones that collect and score artwork as a body of work. So each type of call then has 2 templates, one for invited artists and one for not invited artists, and you can expand those to show the template that we've created. Now, these are pretty basic templates. They just kind of have some, standard verbiage of congratulations, you've been invited. You can, replace this information that we've highlighted. And I've included some info about, which I'll talk about when I actually put in my demo email here, but we've included some information about, look at the heading of this email to find out which artwork was selected. If you submitted more than one entry, you may receive a separate email if all of your entries are not listed. This is kind of helpful if you have a call that has individual pieces of artwork, and that kind of allows you to tell the artist that, hey, you might receive more than one email. Check above to see, and I'll show you again where this auto populates. Check above to see which pieces are accepted. So you can go ahead and copy and paste this message into your email. So I'll go ahead and copy that there. Obviously, I'm not going to do it today because you don't want to have to see me, replace all this information, but I'll just kind of leave it as it is now. And you can put in your subject line. I'll just put that one in there. And so, obviously update and customize this message as you see fit. You can include information about the exhibition or how to contact them if you have any questions, all those kinds of things. So once we've entered that generic email that we're sending to everybody or attaching a file if we want to, go ahead and click preview. This will show you a preview of the email that will go out. And so you can kind of see everything that was there. The CaFÉ logo is here, but if you have a logo up for your event on the call editor, it will actually be your logo. And then it's kind of hard to see here, but this is where that information will pull in the artist's info. So pull in their username. The medium category means the category, if they've applied to a specific category for your event, that will put there. And then here, image label and image name, this is where it's going to list out the pieces of artwork. So it'll pull the title of their artwork they submitted next to the status, either invited or not invited. In this case, it would say invited. And it will list out however many are in the invited status for that artist. And then, of course, it addresses the first and last name. As you can see at the top here, it says this is a preview of the 7 emails that will be sent out to invited. And then if you recall, we actually had 15 entries in the invited status, but it's saying it's going to send 7 email because that's the number of unique artists that were in that invited status. So we had 15 artists submit and be invited, or we had 7 artists that submitted and are invited, and they all together submitted 15 entries in the invited status. So it's just deduplicating the number of emails so they don't receive multiple copies for every piece of art that's becoming invited. So once you've reviewed that email, you can do a couple things. You can go ahead and send it. You can make changes, go back there, or you can click and save draft. This is actually nice if you want to be able to come back to it later, or maybe you want to just put in your generic email for now and save it for when you're actually ready to send your emails. And to reload the draft into your emailer, you can go ahead and just click anywhere on, you can kind of see how it's grayed up. You can click on it. And then you can click on the status. You can see after I clicked on that, nothing happened. But once I click on the invited status again and click draft email, that email is actually loaded into there. The other way you can do that is by, first clicking. Actually, if I just refresh the page here, I'll be able to show you this. If I first click the invited status and click draft, you'll see this blank emailer. Once I click the draft email, it actually just fills in everything there. So that's how you use drafts. You can always delete them if you need them. If you make a draft and then you save one, it'll actually just create a duplicate draft. So you'll want to make sure you delete your old one unless you are purposely making 2 copies with different information. But, that's how you use drafts. And like I said, when you're ready to go, you can click preview and then click send. And then that will send the messages. It might take some time for them all to go out. And that's how you email them. Of course, you would then repeat the process for the not invited status, in which we do have email templates for that. It's pretty standard. Template for emailing non-invited artists. You can kind of say, we regret to inform you that at least one piece is not selected. We have some verbiage in there too about, check the top of this email to make sure that all of your entries are listed there. You might have more than one, so you might also receive an invited email. So go ahead and use those templates as you see fit. And, these are new that we've added to the Help Center, but we may consider adding them to the actual CaFÉ platform to be able to use those straight away. But that would come later on. Another thing I should mention before we move on is that I just sent out an email, like I said, to artists that submitted to an artwork exhibition where multiple pieces were entered. You may be doing a call where it's, just one artist submits one application that includes a body of work or their portfolio, and in which case it wouldn't actually do the thing of listing the number of pieces of art they submitted and giving them the status for each, because all of their information and images are grouped together. It would simply state, just in general, here's your one application, you've been invited or not invited. So just to know that it goes a little bit differently if you have a scoring by art call or a scoring by application call. So once you've sent those emails, there's a couple things you can do to kind of just check on your emails and make sure that they've sent out properly. The first thing is clicking to the report section and running an events communication bounce report. And this will just tell you if any emails were bounced. So you can click the call that you sent the email for, set the date range to whenever that email was sent, and click Run Report. If you do have any bounces, you'll see a list here. So just to show you that, this is a previous staff member, so their email is not currently active. That's why it bounced. And then this one is one that I purposely added a typo in and made it wrong so that it would bounce. So that's to show you what it looks like when you have emails that are bounced. If you do see anything here, you might want to contact the artist if they've listed their phone number, or find out a way if you can fix their email address so that they can actually receive the emails from us. If you don't see anything here, that's good. That means that none of the emails were bounced. But everyone has email filters and certain things on their email, so it might not necessarily mean that they did get the email. But usually we have a pretty good delivery rate. And so every email that, as long as it doesn't say it's bounced, should be delivered. The other thing you can do to check on emails that were sent is to look at one of the applications for those artists that you sent out that email to. So if you go to the invited status or wherever you sent the email to, because it's sent to everyone, you can just click on any one of these artists in this list. And this takes you to their application page, and you can scroll down to the email section here, and this will show you a copy of the sent email. So you can see the email that we sent today. It'll give you a timestamp. This one actually, when you click view, will kind of show you a better view of the email that was sent with that artist information already in there. So as you can see here, it populated that artist's username, and then this is where it's listing out the name of the artwork and whether or not it was invited. And then obviously in our template, because we said, see the information above in this heading here, that's kind of how you're directing folks to note which artwork was invited. And so if an artist is needing a copy of that email, or if you'd like to see a copy of that email after it was sent, if you didn't copy yourself on it, you can come here and view that. After you've emailed the artist of the jury results, you'll want to make sure you come back to the jury administration tab and set your jury status, which is right here, to complete. So this happens after the jury, after you notify artists, because once you change this to complete, the status will be visible to artists on their My CaFÉ entries page. And I'll just quickly show you what this looks like. I'm going to log in here as an artist. And here's my list of entries. We've got a lot here, but This is the one we're talking about today, this 2023 demo. And you can see it says currently jury round 1 in progress. So as an artist, I don't know what status my artwork is. I can only see that the jury's in progress. But let's say those emails went out and I received it and I know that my artwork is invited or not. So I have that information. But as an administrator, you'll want to make sure you publish the results on the CaFÉ page so that they can actually come in here and just double check, okay, which pieces, these ones were invited, this one's not invited. And in order to do that, you have to kind of open up that curtain by setting that jury status to complete, then click save. If I come back to my artist account and refresh, oops, I was actually in the wrong call. That's what's happening here. This is the call. I'm going to set this one to complete, click save, refresh again. And here is the one that I can now see that both pieces were invited. So it's good to just kind of publish that for artists so that they can come here. Maybe they did have an issue with their email or just didn't happen to see that email come through. If they're checking their CaFÉ account regularly, they can see when their status is invited or, not invited. And I suggest doing this after you email them because let's say you set it to complete and then something happens where, you have to make an adjustment or a change before you email them. Or maybe you'd actually just like to make sure that you're giving the first word about the results before they just happen upon these results here in the CaFÉ portal. It's kind of better to email them first. So back to the jury status a little bit. The other thing that the jury status does when I set this to complete is once the call process is complete and everything, the jury status to complete does those two things. So one, we just talked about, it publishes the results of the jury to let them know if they're invited or not. The other thing it does is allow the artist to archive the entry from their CaFÉ account. If I come back here, you'll see I'm now given this option to archive. Any ones that are in progress, you can see up here, jury round 1 in progress. I can't actually archive that entry, but now that this one's complete, I can go ahead and archive that. Now, archiving is simply a way for artists to clean up their list of entries. This is a pretty long list. Some artists have really long lists, and they can come in and archive entries that are in the past and kind of get them out of their current view. And then, they can review any archived entries in their account. So this just kind of allows them to be able to clean up their list. And also right now it allows them to, once they've archived their entries, make some changes to the artwork they've submitted and edit those files. Whereas, although that soon will become a moot point because we're releasing an update to say that they don't need to archive in order to make edits to their or artwork details. It's a little bit confusing, especially from the administrator side. You don't really get to see that sense as an artist, but just know that making them be able to archive their entries is helpful for artists. So that's why you'll want to change your jury status to complete. So the next thing you'll want to do, now that you've finished the steps to notify the artist and publish the results to them, you might want to take a few things from CaFÉ before your event is actually taking place. You want to download some information and get some things out of CaFÉ to take into your next phase. So these next few tips are not required, certainly, but they might be handy to know what you have available to you. So first, if you need the images of your invited artist's artwork, you'll want to request a download link of the high-resolution images. Simply put, if you request these images from us, which we can do for just your invited artists or any and all statuses, we'll send you a link to download those high-resolution files. So to do this, all you need to do is submit a ticket. So you go to the ticket tab of the menu. Under subject, you can type in anything that you want, and you can choose the event that you're talking about, that you're requesting the images from. Under issue, you'll select image request. And then in the message, you can just let us know, hey, I'd like to request the download of these images, but you'll want to make sure you include two things. You want to include what status. So let's say I want the invited status, and you'll want to let us know whether or not you want the artist names to be included on the artwork image files. So the image files would typically be listed with the artist's last name, followed by a series of ID numbers pertaining to their application ID and their artwork ID. But we can remove those last names if you want to make it more of a blind jury process that you're downloading the images for. You don't have to do that for your jury, but sometimes folks like to take their review process off of CaFÉ, in which case you can request the downloads of, all statuses or the received status. You can do, received or all. And you can say, I would like the image or the artist names removed. So if you don't let us know that you'd like the artist names removed, likely the support team would default to including the artist names. So if you do want those removed, just make sure to tell us. Once you've created that message, you can add more, of an actual message to this box and fill out your information. Go ahead and click send. That sends an email to our support staff. And you can, it'll take 24 business hours at most to receive that image download link. And yes, this is much better than right-clicking to save each file, because this way you're actually getting the same size file that the artist uploaded. So it'd be higher resolution than saving it from the browser. And it'll come as a zip file that you can then use as you need. And so for each call, you can request an image download 3 times. And then within each download, when we send you a link, that link to download will be only clickable 3 times. So you can then, you can click it once, maybe send it to a colleague if they need it, click it. Or if you just want to click it multiple times, you can only click it up to 3 times. But we can process this request for you up to 3 times per call. So I know folks like to use, those images for many different reasons. So this is a good option for you. The second thing that you may want to download from CaFÉ before your event are the media information reports. So we have several different reports that you can use to take the applications offline, organize contact information, and keep track of the artwork. I'll go over each of these reports to give you an idea of what is available to you. And we're going to start in the events management section and make sure our call is selected. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to select the status of applications that I want the information from. If you're at the end of your call process, you'll most likely be using the invited status from here on out. So we'll click on invited, or you can click on the status you want, or you can click on view all to view all of the applications. So now that we've loaded which applications we want, we have 2 different buttons here, download XLXS, which is spreadsheet, or download PDF. And under each one, we have some different report options. Under download spreadsheet, we've got contact information. This will give you a spreadsheet of the artist's names, mailing address, email, phone, and website. Application answers will give you artist's basic info and email, and will also list their answers to your custom questions if you included any. And then media information lists the artwork details that the artist included with their images, such as title, medium, dimensions, price, year completed, things like that. So these spreadsheets are helpful because you can download them and be able to sort for information quickly, or maybe if you just want to grab those email addresses in one list, you can download the contact information and have all those emails available to you. Under download PDF, you have 2 options, applications and media inventory list. I'll actually be able to show you these ones. I can't show you the spreadsheets ones because they download in a, my numbers application, and this one I'll be able to show you on the browser here. So let me click on applications. Applications will give you a PDF of the actual applications that the artist submitted. So you can first then decide if you want to download it as a juror or an administrator. For the jury, this is helpful because it will it'll take any of the settings that you put up in your jury administration side to say that you wanted to, let's say, hide the artwork price, hide the artist statement, any of those things, and then you can further choose to remove all contact information. And that will allow you to download this PDF so that jurors can review the applications in PDF form. Or if you're just an administrator and you're trying to download the applications for your records or for any other reason, you can click Administrator. This will download a PDF that I'll go ahead and open up. And it might take a second to load. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see one application per one page or so, unless the application is longer than a page. So you'll see here we've got, this is actually the name of the specific artist account, the answers to the custom questions, the artist statement they've included, and a little thumbnail of the artwork that they submitted. And you'll just be taken to one application per page. So it's all just, however many applications you have will be that size document. So these, this document can get pretty large. If that's the case, what CaFÉ will actually do is back on this management page, once you click download applications, it might actually say, hey, this report is a little too large. We're going to email it to the email address on your administrator account, and you'll receive an email later on to click and download that full-size report, instead of just making you wait on a frozen page on CaFÉ for 10 minutes for a report to be generated. The other PDF option you have is media inventory list. This gives you a PDF of the media information I talked about before. So, title, medium, size, price. However, this will also show you the thumbnail images in a grid format, and it doesn't include any of those application questions. So it's a quick view at all of the artwork submitted, and will give you some of that information at a glance. This is often helpful for folks hanging a show or having the works delivered for the exhibit. So you can quickly reference the pieces that were invited and check off the ones as soon as you receive them or have them hung. And then some also like to use this to make labels so they can reference the image next to the information at the same time. So you might want to download the media information spreadsheet as well as this one so that you can have quick access to the text in spreadsheet format, but the thumbnail images here. And I do have a question. Does it only download the page numbers on the query page, like only 20 at a time? No, so if I think you're referring to this 20 per page. If I had more than 20, it would download all of them. Yeah, it would download all of them. This is just showing you a display of the current page on CaFÉ, but if I had 100 in invited status, it would download the reports for all 100. But that brings up a good tip, because let's say you only want a specific batch of artists, or maybe an artist is requesting a copy of their application in PDF form. You can actually do that for them. And what you do is you narrow down this table to the artwork or the artist that you want to download it for. So let's say I only want to download the application for this artist here. You can see I only have one loaded. When I go ahead and download the applications PDF, this just gives me a copy of their application. And that's kind of nice. I can send it to them, or, if you are just trying to download one, you can do it that way. So those are the, information reports that are really helpful to use to either just download for your record keeping. As long as you have access to CaFÉ with a current contract, you'll always have access to the information in your past and current calls. But if you want to make sure you're saving for historical record keeping, you can download these reports for that reason. But they may also be helpful for creating labels, creating contact lists, things like that. And then the final report that might be helpful for you is the income breakdown report. This is found under Reports Income Breakdown. And this lets you download the report of all of the transactions for your call, or as many calls as you want. It can be the download of transactions for your entire organization. So this is kind of an older call that I created. So I'm going to set my date range to include the dates that we were accepting applications. And I can then filter different things. I can make sure I'm hiding all check payments if I want to make sure I'm only viewing credit card payments. I can hide $0 transactions. So if I want to see only folks that have paid something, I want to hide anyone that didn't pay, maybe with a coupon or a waiver. So I'm going to hide those. But actually for this case, because this is a demo call, we didn't actually set up an entry fee. So I'm going to make sure I'm displaying $0 transactions. And then these allow you to say, okay, in the search results here, I want to hide all my archived calls or hide active calls. If I'm looking for some historical information from an archived call, I can make sure I'm displaying archived calls only, and I can view the reports for old calls. But I'm just going to do this. You'll select the call that you want to view the information for. For the purposes today, I'm only going to select the one that we are working on. And if I want, I can say download report only. So if I check this box and I click run report, it will download the spreadsheet. But if I unclick this and I click run report, which you'll see in a second, it will actually show me the table on the CaFÉ page. If I click email report, this will bypass both the download and the display of the report and just email me the report when it's ready. So if you have a lot of calls and a lot of transactions that you're downloading this for, you might want to click email so that you're more notified and you don't have to wait on this page for the report to download. So I've got my call chosen and I'm going to click run. And you'll see here we get this report that downloads. So it includes the transaction ID number, the transaction date, who purchased this, entry fee, the amount. If there, was an entry fee, this says $0 because it was, a free demo entry, and the title of the call name, the description of the products purchased, approval codes, and the account that you license with CaFÉ. I'm showing you this now as well because, as you may know, we've updated our refund process so that you can submit refunds through a form and in order to request a refund for an artist. And in that form, we actually ask for transaction information, and this is where you can come to find that information. If you find the artist and when they purchase the entry fee, you can come here and get this information. So we'll need, the artist name, we'll need this approval code and the REF number. So that is what you can come to find that information. If you want to view the bottom, it will show you the total income that you've collected for this call during that time period, or it will show you down here, income for the event, the overall amount of money that you've collected for your event. Collected here is, the total amount, which is the net amount. Actually, no, this is the total amount collected. The credit card fee total, because all purchases on CaFÉ have a 3.25% credit card transaction fee that goes to our payment processor. So when you collect your entry fees, that fee is taken out, and then the net amount is the amount that we'll be paying out to you every month. So this is a good way as well to check to see how much money you'll bring in each month. If you just set the date range to the month prior, run your report, see how much is the net amount, and that will total the amount less any CaFÉ fees owed to us. That will equal the amount that you'll be getting in your next remittance. Of course, then at the bottom, you can download either a spreadsheet or different file types for this report. So like I said, this can be helpful for verifying transactions, submitting refund requests, or just any other bookkeeping needs. Okay, so at this stage, you've done everything you needed to do to wrap up your call on CaFÉ. You've notified the artist, you set your jury status to complete, you've downloaded any reports that you've needed, and you've requested any images if you'd like those. So what's next? Well, some administrators like to keep their call under the current event drop-down list here. In case you need to come back to it, maybe as you're putting together the event, it's nice to have this, currently available to you on the current events page. So, however, what would be nice is that after you've done that process, you can have us archive your call so that we can add it instead to the archived events list. Especially if you run many calls, this is nice to clean up your list of current events so they're easier to find what's actually current, and you can keep your list of archived events down in a different section. So it allows you to keep it organized, and all you need to do for archiving your call is to request to archive it. Again, go back to that help ticket tab and you can create a message under issue here. You can kind of just put, we don't have an archive one here, but you can just put general question. Write us a message that says, hey, I'd like to archive this call. What we'll do is we'll kind of go in there and just make sure that you've set your jury status to complete and everything looks good. And we'll go ahead and archive that, at which time you'll then see that call not under current event, but under the archived event drop-down list. So when you archive your call, you'll still be able to have access to it. As you can see, I can go back to an old call and I can come in here and I can click on the applications. I can view the applications. I can still download any of those reports. So that's not a big deal. The exception is I cannot request an image request after your call is archived. We can't go in and request those and pull those images for you. And that's because I showed you how artists sometimes archive their entries. If that entry gets deleted and their artwork image itself, if they delete it from their CaFÉ artist account, it actually would delete from the application pages and not be available to you. So you'll want to make sure you're downloading the PDFs with those artwork thumbnails or requesting those image downloads before you archive your call. Not all artists archive their entries, so you may end up being able to see the artwork for some of the applications, but it's not going to be as complete as it would have been. So when your call is archived and you have the information you need, you're officially ready to move on from the CaFÉ process and get to the exciting part of putting together your event. When you're ready to start a new call, simply head to the Help Center and click on Request a New Call, and you'll be taken to the new call request form to start the process all over again. Here's a question. So if we have shipping info that can be attached in the file, yeah, so you can make attachments to the email. If you come here, you can make an attachment, and these are the accepted file types, and it just can't be more than 10 megabytes. But if you have a document, then you can go ahead and do that. Some folks, might have an agreement that they have artists download from the email and then send back to you. Shipping information, yeah, that can all be included as an attachment. And then I have a question in the chat. Does exempt from jury mean uninvited? So exempt from jury is the status that's in the back end of CaFÉ that you can choose to put artists into. And this can be for this can be any reason that you have for it. So exempt from jury might mean they're a board member and they don't get to be scored. They're automatically invited. Maybe there's another reason why they're exempt from the jury. So it just kind of is saying that, okay, this is the status that they're currently in. And so if I were an artist and I see that and I'm confused about that, I would reach out to you as the administrator to say, hey, what does that mean? Yeah. Same thing with the other status, you kind of are giving that definition for your own use. We set the call as complete once we've had all of our jury sessions. So once you've had all of your jury sessions and they've scored, there's the process of sorting your entries in between invited and not invited. And that's a process that I didn't show today, but you can access the Help Center, or we have webinars about that. And no sooner. So you'll want to set your jury status to complete after you've done that sorting process. That's because if you put it to complete, artists can see the status, and if they're seeing their status as received when it should be either invited or not invited, and you've technically finished your jury, but they don't know that, they'd be a little bit confused. So they'll be able to see jury status in progress, and that's it. That concludes our webinar of the essential steps for concluding your call in CaFÉ. I hope you learned more about how to notify artists and access the information you may need. If you have any more in-depth questions or questions specific to your call, you can contact us at cafehelp@westaff.org or submitting a ticket. Be sure to join our next webinar next month.